Big rise in political violence in the US at the moment. 520 plots and acts of terrorism across the country this year alone. So what does all this mean for free speech in the US? Tom Garrett is with the Institute for Free Speech. He's the Vice President, joins us this morning. Tom, thank you for being with me.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity.
Tom, I want to start really quickly with this interesting kind of conundrum for free speech activists, that you've got some coming out and celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk who are now losing their jobs. In other words, being cancelled for exercising free speech. Where do you stand on that?
It's a very complicated issue, as you alluded to. I think that if you have someone who is, for example, a public employee, of course, they have First Amendment rights because their employer is a state actor or a state agency. On the other hand, you have people who, in many states, there are laws that prevent people from being fired or punished because of political beliefs, even in a private capacity. And I think the complicated question here, why it becomes a little trickier, is because I think the argument that's being put forward by people who want to see these people punished is that this is a different category of speech. This is something that is celebrating violence and may, in fact, be reflective of a mentality that is supportive of violence or is itself violent. So I think that's where it becomes a very tricky issue, but it's definitely going to be one that's going to be a hot topic here in the United States in the months to come.
So because it's endorsing or seen to be endorsing violence, that is separate from saying something that's outrageous or bombastic and offensive, but not necessarily anything to do with physical violence.
Right. And I think that, in certain states where they have protections like these, I think the question that you'll see come up is taking a step back from the specific content of the speech. If you are a private employer and you have an employee who is celebrating violence, even putting the free speech issue aside, which is considerable, just as an employer, do you want people who are working for you who are supporting this sort of thing? So as a baseline, of course, we are going to be very supportive of free speech, even for speech that is abhorrent. But I think from a legal perspective, there are going to be some tricky questions that have to be answered in the weeks and months to come.
Tom, free speech, obviously, the First Amendment of the United States, it's foundational to your country. We enjoy free speech here in New Zealand. Other, Western liberal democracies do the same. What do you see? This is another political assassination in the US. We've got riots in the UK. I mean, things are looking pretty messy around the world, and particularly in democracies. Where do you see this all going?
Yeah, it's a really challenging time, I think, for free speech in Western democracies. And I think aside from the obvious sort of visceral reaction to the horrific scenes that we saw last week with this terrible assassination, I think that moving forward, there's the question of chilled speech. Are people at this point going to simply be afraid to speak out, whether their political beliefs are like Charlie Kirk's or opposite of his or something else? And I think for us, chilling of free political speech is always top of my concern. And in the wake of violence like this, of course, it is a considerable concern, particularly on college campuses where chilling of speech is already a huge problem.
Appreciate your time this morning, Tom. Thank you very much for being on the show with us. Tom Garrett, Institute for Free Speech Vice President out of the United States. It is 29 minutes away from 8.